Welcome to Kinetic. Give him a big hand. This is a big day for Kinetic. A lot of people say, why do you do a press conference? Because this has to be considered by the City Council on Tuesday, and that in fact is. The City Council has to consider this. We will work as staff under the direction of Vern Lawson, who's been able to work with the fine gentleman in Kinetic here to come up with a tentative agreement that Council approves. But in government, you have to put a staff report out 72 hours before the Council approves it. So you have a couple things. You can let the staff report tell your story, or you can tell the story. This is not a story that's on a staff report. This is not the city selling land. This is the story of Kinetic, of Steve and Merle. That's the story, and that's what we want to get today. It's about them. I remember when I think I was talking to Steve, we were walking in here, and we were very excited seeing all the construction, and he goes, this is going to be a public house, there's going to be no TVs. Okay, not every idea is a good idea. Okay, that was not a great idea, but he kept it true to that, and Merle did too. It's not a wing and chain wing restaurant that you just go in, you go out, they flip tables over. This is a place that you truly go to enjoy. This is a place that you bring your family. This is a place that you bring contacts and friends from outside the community. This is a place that the LA Times has said is the top 5 brew happy hour in Los Angeles County, one of the top 5 brew pubs. It's got international awards. This is a great place to interact and to be. Think Cheers with much better beer and food. That's what this is to me. In order to do this justice, you have to put your heart and soul into it. You have to put your financial resources into it, and you have to have a true dream and believe that you can do this. And I could not be prouder of these business folks who represent all the small businesses, and they're going to be a large business pretty soon, in Lancaster.
As Economic Development Director, we're particularly interested in this deal because of 2 reasons. Not only is this going to be a manufacturing facility and ultimately employ over 100 people, they also plan to do a great thing for tourism. And we will have something like a beer garden that will be suitable for weddings and festivals, and it's become quite, craft beer movement throughout California has become something that millennials certainly are following. And one of the things we want to do is attract millennials to this town because they're good workers. We also want to retain millennials. So if the existence of a craft brewery will help do that, then we won't have our brain drain. So I know that's a stretch for those of you that aren't into craft, but we are. I remember the first meeting we ever had, which was a couple years ago. Of course, I've known Merle for years. Steve was somebody who I didn't know, but I've had hundreds of those meetings over the years. And when I left that meeting, I thought, this is going to happen. And it's going to happen because of your passion. It became very obvious to me the first time we talked that you were tired of being a sound technician at Technicolor. Your passion in life was making beer. And who knew you'd be so good at it? The odds of a small business making it are small. Most businesses fail within the first 5 years. Very few go on to do what you've actually done. We talked a little bit about some of the awards, but I want to expand on that because I think that's important. Not only are they making beer here, they're making great beer here, and they're creating notoriety for the Antelope Valley by becoming on some list where we're compared with every other brew pub in Los Angeles County. When you can make the top 5 doing that, you're obviously doing something very well. Other thing I wanted to mention is this deal actually started off with a facade improvement program that the City Council approved. Basically, it was a $40,000 forgivable loan if you did what you said you were going to do, which was make beer and hire people. And so that was many years ago, but I think sometimes we forget sometimes in government that just that little push, little extra push makes things work. Let me just go through some of the things that they've won. They've won awards at the Great American Beer Festival, the Los Angeles International Beer Competition, Bistro Double IPA Festival. IPA is Indian Pale Ale. Los Angeles Times named Kinetic as one of the 5 standout brewers in 2013 LA Beer Week. So, that's a big county. This isn't like we're in Kern County, Jason. This is Los Angeles County. Los Angeles County where, you got to be somebody to be somebody. And then finally, LA Weekly ranked it as one of the top 5 best brew pub happy hours in Los Angeles. And I don't drink as much beer as I used to, What I would bet, if we had to go on a tour in Los Angeles and attend all the happy hours and come up with the winners, that there'd be some pretty terrific happy hours. And the fact that you made it here, and we have hoteliers here, and of course our goal in life, along with the beer festival that's coming up pretty quick, is to get people to come to town. And I think this is the kind of thing that will do that. San Diego Stone Brewery, by a show of hands, how many people have been there? Okay, so notice the age group. We've got to get there, older people, but that's the kind of facility that's envisioned here. And if you've never been, you owe it to yourself to get on a website and take a look at that. This is a site that the city of Lancaster has owned for a while, and it's about 14 acres. Of course, we own this drainage channel here and have for a long time. Across the way is a gentleman named Julian Bay who's owned this property for quite a while. The problem was that he had a couple of lots in here that actually made this a landlocked parcel. So we wouldn't have had much of a brewery if we couldn't have truck access to it. So through an agreement that the council will consider on Tuesday night, we've gone ahead and worked it out where that property will be exchanged to us. We will then sell it at market value to Kinetic, and we will put in Trevor Avenue. What's happened with economic development as far as job creation is concerned, we used to have a lot of tools, but that state took that away. So what we primarily do now when we incentivize a deal is use public works, the installation of public improvements. Of course, the nice part about installing Trevor Avenue is it becomes a great outlet for all of the rest of the activity that's happening down here. And it will also create a couple of lots that will then be fully improved, and a new company can come in and take that. So this is a win-win for everybody.
We started this concept in 2010, opened late 2011, haven't looked back. Very successful, very forward-thinking, all of the things that he mentioned. The part that he didn't mention, it's really a lot of fun to do that. You know, it's very, very hard work, a lot of extra hours, but it's excitement at the same time. So I'd like to talk a little bit about what we're going to build. Okay, he's explained where the lot is. It's actually the north end of an existing industrial subdivision. It's kind of languished for the last 20 years or so. Now is the time to get that developed because it's pre-zoned, it's pre-subdivided, there's already sewer, there's already water, the infrastructure is there. Okay, so this is a great parcel for us to use because it's already set aside for this type of use. The building will have a 10,000 square foot brewery, a couple thousand square feet of administration. More importantly, there's a 1,600 square foot tasting room, which will be on the front, and the fun part, an acre beer garden / event space. Pretty easy to put 400 or 500 people out there. We could put a 100 by 100 tent if we needed to, and still provide all the legal access that you need to do for that sort of event. Part of our water management plan is to also have some community garden space and a greenhouse outside that we can use. We're going to grow hops and a few other things to go in the beer. Turns out they make chili beer. Chilies grow really well out here. So this is something we just need to do. The style of the building. We're going to go back a few years. The Antelope Valley is known for aerospace. The main building will be a World War II industrial metal building with clear story windows. We're going after the daylighting because we should. The sun is free, it saves energy, it's a very pleasant space, and it looks really good. The front tasting room will be reminiscent of the pump houses that have run up and down the aqueduct from here to Lake Owens, San Francisco Canyon, where most of the details are coming from. Inside and out, the same thing, big fans, exposed ducting, really open, airy, very reminiscent of what we have here. Okay, very economical, very sustainable, very energy efficient, very water efficient. All of these things are now must-dos. It's not something you want to do, you have to do it. We are going to put up to 60 kilowatts of PV panels on the roof to start with, day one. Again, something you have to do. Okay. A little bit about schedules. Looks like once the council considers, it'll be about January before we can actually break ground. A lot of engineering, a lot of street plans, a lot of surveys, all the important things to look at that site, testing soils and stuff like that. It'll take us about 11 or 12 months to build the entire project out, and that'll be ready to make beer. the following spring, 2017, around February or March, beer will start coming out of production. It will have been tested, it will have been run, and shortly thereafter, we will open everything, the tasting room, the event space, the whole works. So pretty aggressive schedule, but it's in line with what Vern's arranged with the city's engineering schedule, and it's kind of a joint effort. Today's development, the cities can only do so much. They've done everything they possibly can for us, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side and come up with a really good project. I'd like to introduce Steve Kinsey, who's going to talk a little bit more about the beer and some of the things that we're going to do.
Welcome to Kinetic Brewing Company. Everybody, city manager, council members, everybody, thank you all for coming and welcome to Kinetic. Kinetic. What does kinetic mean? So, again, as Meryl said, 2010, when we were designing and building and planning this place out, we wanted a name, we needed a name that fit in the community. We wanted a name that, when you heard that, it said the Antelope Valley. It is about our past. It is about our future. It is aviation. It is aerospace. It is alternative energy. It is ecology. It is being mindful about what we do. That motion, that stored energy is everything that can be said in all those words. And to me, that is kinetic. This facility you see before you that Meryl's designed will house a 30-barrel American-made Marks Design brew house. That brew house, when complete, will be capable of pushing out 70,000 barrels of beer per year. By contrast, last year alone we made 1,100 barrels. So that is about a 64 times increase. This facility is fully scalable. We will start with a 3-vessel brew house, and when fully complete, we'll have a 5-vessel brew house. We'll have an on-site laboratory with jobs that go with that. So we'll be bringing in not only drivers, canning line facility, but also high science education field jobs. Speaking of the canning line, we'll have a in-house canning line. We'll be packaging 4 of our products: Potential Blonde, Rusted Gear, Propulsion, and Torque. Will be the first to come out in cans in a 12-ounce package and put into either a 4 or 6-ounce carrier. We are uncertain at this point. Building this facility will allow us to expand our distribution from 3 counties into 10 to be able to cover all of the Southern California region. We will have the indoor and outdoor tasting room. As you can see, there's the indoor part there. There's a bunch of concrete and trees. This is still has to be hashed out, but there will be a tremendous amount of thought and detail put in. We will have things such as we'll have bocce ball courts, roly-boly, giant Jenga, a lot of stuff that you see at the Field of Drafts will be incorporated on this site as a playground for adults. We have the green space that Meryl talked about, capable of holding a 100 by 100 square foot tent that's comfortable for holding 500 people. Also, we'll have a community garden and the hops farm in the near future that Meryl talked about as well. One question that I'm sure that a lot of you are questioning at this point, though, is how can we, in good conscience, put in a brewery that is going to use 64 times the amount of water that we are already using in the middle of a drought? To that answer, I'd be pleased to say that we are going to be partnering with Cambrian Innovations. And if I can quickly not tell you about them, Cambrian Innovations is the 2015 World Economic Forum Technology Pioneer winner. Cambrian Innovations was founded in 2006 by a pair of then MIT students with a grant from the NASA Institute for Advanced Concepts program to create a life support system that could treat waste and generate electricity for the International Space Station. Cambrian Innovation successfully piloted its first system in 2010 and has been developing technology capable of turning harmful pollutants into useful resources, beating industry giants like General Electric to the punch by creating the world's first industrial-scale, bioelectrically enhanced wastewater treatment and reuse system. So to that end, what that means to us is that we will be able to use our water, and then the effluent that falls to the ground, which is if you were to go back in the brewery, which I don't suggest, you would see, to be completely honest, brewing is a wasteful job. We use a bit of water, and we at Kinetic are going to change that. We are investing heavily in the Cambrian systems. They're partnering with us, and we are going to take what would normally be a 6-to-1 ratio of water for every pint of beer that's made. 6 units of water are wasted to make that pint of beer, and that's an industry standard across the country. In the recent article in the Beer Advocate magazine in July, they did an article on the drought in California and how that's impacting breweries. They talked to Stone, they talked to Sierra Nevada, Telegraph Brewing, industry giants that are known for their ecology, and they state that they can get down to 4 to 1. This technology will allow us to get down to a 2-to-1 ratio. We will be able to, we'll be able to use clean, fresh water to brew. The effluent that falls to the ground will be captured and sent back to the system, where it will then be cleaned using the anodes to electrically charge the proteins and the organics, converting them into methane, which can then be used to run our boiler system, or it can be run through a power cell and converted back into electricity. So as Merrill talked about, we will have the 61 kilowatts of electricity that we're generating in solar. This system at its full capacity is capable of making an additional 400 kilowatts of energy at our largest point, which is enough to run an entire city tract of housing. So our goal in this brew house is to be net zero as soon as we possibly can.